What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Prepare yourselves for one of the most crazy titles to a Reddit story you've ever seen. And I know I say that a lot, but I'm being serious. This title is generational, and not in a good way. In fact, I don't even think I need to give any more context than the title. So sit back and relax. Let's get into this. Also, just a quick note. For those of you that are wondering about the music that you can hear in the background of this episode and that you'll hear throughout the entire episode, I've changed it recently, but I know you guys love the music that I use in these videos on the whole. If you want to check out all the individual tracks, I have made a playlist in the link down below. I'll also put it in the pinned comment. It's in order of what you're going to hear in this video, and it's what's going to be played in the majority of videos going forward. So if you like the music, check it out down below. With that being said, how about this for a title? My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. How about that for a title? I am a 41-year-old stay-at-home mum. My husband, who is 48, who we'll call Paul, works in finance. We've been married for nearly 20 years. We have two kids. Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the light of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend who is also 18, who he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and I got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, just to remind you, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she, quote, misses sucking his you-know-what. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it, because over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has an addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments, and I saw more of their interactions. I wish I'd never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He'd call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive, acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock that I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed as to how to handle this, because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I've got no idea how to even broach this completely effed up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time that Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any frickin' sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I've not confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Okay, wow, what a first post. Absolutely insane. Let's jump into some comments straight away. Somebody said, if she's freshly 18, isn't this illegal? There's no way they weren't doing anything illegal before she turned into an adult. Also, even if it's not, the age gap is over 3 decades. Your husband is suspect as anything. Police immediately. OP replied, she's been 18 for 5 months now. I haven't been able to gauge when this all started. I'm trying my hardest to figure that out. He deletes his text every couple of weeks, it seems like, so I've not been able to pinpoint when this started. OP also added this additional info. Thank you everyone for your overwhelming support. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your private messages. I'll get to them when I can. I'm dealing with a lot right now and taking a lot of steps that need to be taken. I'm trying to be smart and strategic with this truly surreal and terrible situation I'm in. I want to be clear that not telling my son about this was never something I was considering. I didn't mean to make it seem that way. I was just saying that I'm intensely dreading it, but obviously it needs to be addressed. It's one part of the many steps of my overall plan. I'm currently playing dumb, collecting as much evidence as I can so I can be prepared for anything and everything. I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to make sure I don't put myself in any potential harm's way. I'll post a more thorough update soon when I can, but please know you've all touched my heart so much and made me feel less alone. Goodness me, just imagine being OP and being in this situation. Not only is your husband cheating on you, but he's cheating on you with your son's girlfriend, and you're going to have to be the one to tell your son. Oh my goodness, just disgusting. Anyway, 5 days later, we got the first update in this story. Title was, I'm divorcing my husband because he cheated on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all of his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk. It was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours, pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. Oh my word. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums and spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense that something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and I told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's iCloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me that Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic/physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. Right, so turns out your husband is pretty weird. He's been grooming an underage kid and has a serious fetish/prawn addiction. Wow. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty. He had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. She's recollecting moments and times that she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Okay, so that is it for the first update. Let's jump into some comments. Somebody said, "How is your son holding up? What's developed between him and Amy?" OP replied, "He's not spoken to Amy yet since finding out the news, and I'm not sure if he ever will again." Somebody else said, "Have you confirmed if the thong you found was Amy's? This situation is effed up." I confirmed that it wasn't my daughter's. She said it wasn't hers. And I know it wasn't mine, so who else's could it be? Wait, are you saying that they effed in the master bedroom? Well, don't cheaters always use their married bed? Yes, I believe he did. OP also added this in the comments. Both me and my son are going to get tested and checked out as well. There's no telling how many different women he's been sleeping around with. As for Amy, her mum has been in contact with me, and Amy has been threatening to run away with him because they are in love. Honestly, I don't know if I should say this, but I actually feel bad for Amy. Like, she's just been groomed. And if Paul is active with lots of other different women, which, let's be honest, he could be, and I mean, he's committing serious offences here by grooming an underage girl and potentially even having, a sexual relationship with her before she turned 18, then, Amy's having to deal with someone like that in her life who has manipulated her into thinking that she loves, not thinking. She does, I'm sure, love him, but yeah, in that manipulative grooming sort of way. I mean, just disgusting. Okay, now let's get into the second update. This was posted 5 days later. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story, which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings, which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I'm just refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now. He seems a bit shell-shocked, and I'm concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. That in and of itself is a little bit weird, not even trying to reach out to your kids. Strange man, but I think we already knew that. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think deep down knows that if investigated thoroughly, he'd be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with a therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually, but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the colour of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that's been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim, as I said. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, though, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality, and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all, and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes they're in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get a hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that and believes that I took away his devices and that I'm very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-coloured glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, but she refuses to believe it, saying that I photoshopped it. According to her mum, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man, and that I'm jealous because she, quote, takes better care of him than I do. That's in line with some of the conversations I screenshotted, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things that I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. Ugh, he's honestly a slimeball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment. Maybe eventually though. Okay, now let's get into the third update 11 days later. So, the divorce. It's very much underway. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it all because it's ongoing, and I want to make sure that everything is going to go smoothly. I got temporary custody of Mary. Paul also has to pay temporary child support. There's a protective order. Paul can't contact us or come near us. Right now, we're just focusing on getting through this legal mess. Again, I'm not going to get into specifics because I don't want to mess anything up, but what I'll say is I'm very confident, divorce aside, that there's overwhelming evidence against Paul that will get him in serious trouble and will impact him for the rest of his life. I'm sure eventually I can share more about that, and don't worry guys, there's a very recent update, as I mentioned, that I'm presuming will go into detail about that. I know a lot of people are concerned about his predatory ways, and I just wanted to convey this, even though I have to be vague right now. Justice will come. All of your concern about how my kids are doing psychologically means a lot to me. Eric has been to therapy twice over the last 2 weeks. I know some people thought I was dismissive of him and acting like he's doing okay. I very much know that he's hurting internally, and we're doing everything we can to make sure he knows he's supported and loved. My brother has been amazing in spending time with Eric and Mary, and both of them have confided in him about a lot. My brother has a very healthy marriage, and both he and his wife have really stepped up to the plate for all of us. Mary hasn't seen a therapist yet, but she promises that she will be open to seeing one soon. Her anger has mostly turned into sadness, I noticed, and I hope that I can get her to see a therapist soon. Her friends have played a key role in this whole thing, and that is something that Mary has been grappling with as well. I know a lot of people are invested in the well-being of Amy too. There were a lot of questions about whether Eric and Amy would still see each other at school. It sounded like they go to the same school, but they actually don't. Eric and Amy went to the same junior high school and knew each other even then, but Amy ended up going to an all-girls Catholic high school, while Eric and Mary too stayed in the public system. We all lived in the same town, and over the summer, heading into freshman year is when they were getting to know each other and when they started dating. Now, I wish I had a better Amy update, but it's actually gotten a lot worse since the last update. Paul has actually been seeing Amy, despite her mother trying to force her not to see him. She tells me that Amy says she's 18 and an adult, and she can do what she wants. Her mum's in a precarious spot because if she kicks Amy out of the house for defying her, something that she's threatened to do, which I think is a mistake, she would obviously just run to Paul permanently. The time she spends with Paul has actually increased over the last week, despite the fact that Paul initially ghosted her when all of this first hit the fan. There were some days Amy would just be gone for hours on end. Look, there's only so much I can do with the Amy situation, but again, I do believe things will turn around soon, given what I know about Paul and what's to come. I can only pray that Amy can get help and guidance when more poop hits the fan. I'm doing everything I can with my own kids and my own mental health, and Amy's mum knows she has my support, and that's all I could really provide. Okay, so that is it for the third update. The fourth and final update is coming, and that was posted just a couple of weeks ago at the time of recording, obviously in 2025. So over a year since this all started. But first of all, let's have a look at some people's comments. Someone said, the only way, to be honest, that Amy will see how messed up Paul is when he eventually sleeps with someone else, or he accuses her of seducing him. Even if he ends up as a sex offender, I don't know if that's enough to convince her that he's a creep and dangerous. Now, I'm curious as to what Paul's intentions are. He ghosted her, and now all of a sudden they're meeting up again? Worst case scenario, he's going to have her falsely testify, which I don't think will take much convincing. Honestly, you and Amy's mum have done what you could. The best thing Amy's mum could do is sit and wait, but don't kick her out. Let her know she'll be there for Amy, and she'll still have a roof over her head. And pray that she snaps out of it soon, instead of years later when she's burned bridges and wasted her life on a man who took advantage and ruined everyone else's lives. Yeah, interesting point about Paul. I'm not entirely sure. There are many ways that you could think about this. It's obvious why he ghosted her in the first place, because he's been caught, and whether or not he knows or knew he was going to be in any legal, danger or whatever, doesn't really change the fact that it's pretty obvious that you'd stop seeing that person immediately. Now, as to why he would now see her again, well, either you could argue he may think that he's fine legally, and if he's fine, then why can't he keep seeing this girl? Or what I think is most likely is that he doesn't have the self-control to not see her. And it's actually like, oh, you know what, I'm just going to keep seeing her. I'm addicted, so I don't care anymore. I think that's probably what's going on. And he's probably not able to stop himself because Amy's like, I want to see you, obviously. And he held out for a while, but then actually he's like, no, I want to get back with this 18-year-old who I groomed. Pretty disgusting man, but yeah, we already knew that. Okay then, now let's get into the new update. As I said, this was posted April 14th, 2025. Titled, My predatory ex-husband fled to Cambodia. My kids and I are still here and going to therapy. Okay, OP starts by giving a quick recap that we obviously don't need to go into, but she does say this at the end. Mary and Eric were both traumatized and they are still in therapy a year later about it. Overall, the amount of scorched earth that Paul caused is mind-boggling to me. I am still rattled by it, and I don't think I will ever recover, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Anyway, let's get into some new info. Paul and Amy dated, in quotation marks, for several months after we started the divorce proceedings. I tried my hardest to keep in touch with Amy's mum to see if there was anything we could do for her to realise Paul's predatory behaviour and maybe speak out against him to see if he slept with her or did anything to her when she was younger, but she refused to talk about anything. She was in love still. Just a few weeks before the divorce was supposed to finalise, Paul disappeared. He drained what was left of our shared accounts, what I hadn't already locked down, and left. We found out later that he bought a one-way ticket to Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I had no idea. I got a notification from the financial tracking alert that my lawyer set up. That was it. We were close to finalising everything. I had full custody of Mary. He wasn't contesting anything. Then he stopped replying. Didn't show up to court, never filed anything, nothing. It was just like he dissolved. Amy, according to her mother, was devastated and she's completely gone mentally right now. She's basically nomadic, sleeping at friends' homes around the area, refusing to come home. My lawyer pushed for a default judgment and the court granted it. The divorce is technically finalised now. I have custody. He's in violation of the support order, but none of it matters. He's gone. Cambodia has no extradition treaty, no child support enforcement, nothing. There's no way to make him come back, no way to make him pay anything. We've got no actual clue where he is in Cambodia. One thing that chills me to my core is how notorious Cambodia is when it comes to trafficking minors. Oh my goodness, that didn't even cross my mind. That might be a bit of a step, but I don't know. This guy is clearly like, he just is a nonce. Anyway, Eric's in college. He keeps his distance from everything to do with Paul. He doesn't say much, but he's steady. I know it still hurts, he just doesn't show it. Mary's quiet about it too. She still brings up little things sometimes, things she remembers now in a different light. She asked me the other night if I thought Paul would come back. I didn't answer. I don't think she really wanted me to. Like, the effect this has had on these two kids, obviously you as well, OP, but on your kids, like for you to find out that your dad's been doing this. I also don't really think it matters necessarily if you're Eric or Mary. I know it was Eric's girlfriend, but like from Mary's perspective, like my dad has been having an affair with my brother's girlfriend, and he's been my dad obviously my entire life, and I've trusted him with my life. Like, how do you ever recover from that? Anyway, let's continue. I don't know what Paul's doing in Cambodia. I don't know who he's talking to or what his life looks like now. I've had a few people tell me to report him to the FBI or try to push for an international investigation. I've made the calls. I've filed what I could, but there's only so much they can do when someone hasn't technically committed a crime that's provable in the US. I don't believe he left the country just to avoid alimony. I think he's a predator, and I think he's a criminal. Yes, I agree with that. That's all for now. I don't have much else to give. I'm still here, my kids are still here, and we're trying. Thank you to everyone for their concern and care. It really warms me. It means so much to me. Well, there we go. That is the end of that story. An absolute crazy one, and I'm not quite sure what I can possibly add as any further context other than what I've said throughout the story, and yeah, I think the story sort of speaks for itself. Terrible situation. I hope everyone involved, well, obviously apart from Paul, can move on with their lives as well as possible. But as I just said then, like, I just don't understand how you can ever get over something like this happening. I think this is worse than like Paul just dying and your dad being dead. Assume you didn't know about this stuff. Like, for example, let me give some context there. If when I was 18, this happened to me, I would rather my dad just died and how I was dealing with the grief of that rather than this. Like, I think this, what I'm trying to say, I've obviously word this awfully. I think this emotional trauma is going to have more of an effect on the kids than a death, like the death of your parent. I think it's much worse than that psychologically. So I don't know how you're going to recover from that. I don't know. I think just the answer has to be therapy and time. But what I will say is, OP, you've done everything you can. I mean, you've acted unbelievably throughout all of this, not just with your own kids, but with Amy as well and her mum. So fair play to you. And yeah, I hope you continue to, I mean, look, you're going to look after your kids, obviously, but don't forget about yourself throughout all of this. You've also been through like this crazy story. But yeah, there we go. Wow, that's all I can say. Get your yeah, look, I can't even speak, man. Get your comments in the courts below. You know what I mean? I want to hear what you guys think. Can you give any more sort of advice to OP? Any further thoughts on this? Not really. Just, you got to take this story and just be like, well, that's kind of fucked. But yeah, thank you for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want another one that's not quite as crazy, I'm going to be honest, but similar, check it out on screen right here. And subscribe down here, because next week I'll be coming back with some more stories just like this.